Welcome everybody to this guided onboarding session. It's a hands-on session, so we get our hands a little bit dirty. I'm Andreas, I'm the community manager of SpecFlow, and with me today is Mario, our product owner, and he will support me with handling questions and so.
Hi everyone.
Good. Some information. Yeah, as I said, this is a hands-on session. If you have questions, please use the Q&A tool of Zoom. You have it somewhere down here is a Q&A button. When the questions are relevant to the current tasks, what I'm currently doing, I will answer them at once. All other questions will be then answered at the end of the session. Good, and with that, let's start. So I'm here on a freshly virtual machine. I have installed Visual Studio 2019. And I'll show you what I installed. So you have different workloads. In Visual Studio and I, as .NET developer, I have the ASP.NET web development workload, the .NET desktop development, and the .NET Core cross-platform development. One of them, if it is enough, I always have all of them installed. Good. So to get started with SpecFlow, the first thing you should do, no sound.
I mean, I can hear you, Andy. So for me, the sound is working.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, also Rolf can hear us. So maybe, Sean, it's on your side.
Okay.
Maybe you can check your audio settings.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Cool. Good. Back to it. So the first thing when you want to start with SpecFlow is to install our Visual Studio extension. This has very cool features and makes the life very easy to use in SpecFlow. It has project templates, item templates, and navigation, syntax highlighting, and so you will see all the features in this webinar. So I don't want yet to create the project because we need to install the extensions. For that, I go to extensions, manage extensions, and under online, I search for SpecFlow. And here we have the SpecFlow for Visual Studio 2019 extension. We also support Visual Studio 2017. So you download it. You then have to one time close Visual Studio again. Now the extension gets installed. And after that, we can start Visual Studio again. We can start Visual Studio again to use the extension. So. Intro. Yeah, virtual machine. So finished. Cool. You can check that the extension is installed by simply going again in the extension manager and have it there. Let's have a quick look. Extensions, manage extensions, and then here under installed, you should now have here the SpecFlow Visual Studio 2019. So yeah, if there are some UI bugs, this is because I increased the font size that you can easily read it on the video on the share. Good. first step is done. So next step. So when you use SpecFlow to automate application, we need an application. Let's start with create a new project, our test application, what we want to test against. So in that case, we are doing a simple calculator, and we're putting this in a class library. So we search here for class library, and we take the not platforms, languages, C#, and somewhere in this list is the .NET Core class library. That's the one that we want to have. The name we give the project that's the SpecFlow calculator. And let's create this. So Visual Studio is now creating the solution and the project. So we have here our normal class library. What we are doing is we rename this file to calculator. Yes. And let's have some code here. That's our application we are testing. So it's not complicated. We have a calculator class, property first number, property second number, and an add method that returns the result, but is not yet implemented. So let's build this project, and everything is fine. Good. I give you a moment to catch up, and you can type into the code. And then we continue with how to create the SpecFlow project. Good. So creating SpecFlow project, this is the first thing where you see a feature of the Visual Studio extension. What they have, you saw it here already. We have a project template, SpecFlow project, and if you use this, the project is already completely set up for you how you need it. So no 10 steps how to set up the project, which project template you have to use. We have now our own. We call it SpecFlow calculator.specs. And the template has a nice wizard where you can choose which .NET framework you want to use. So we have here .NET Core 3.1 and .NET Framework 4.8 as choice. And for test framework, we have the SpecFlow Plus Runner, XUnit, NUnit, and MS Test. So you can choose what you want. Today we are using the SpecFlow Plus Runner. So, and when we create this project, a bootstrapped project is now here. We've already created some folders by default, and everything else. We go to this in more detail. So good. If you created the project, let's continue setting up this. The one thing we need to do is this is our project with the logic we want to test. This is our test project. We need a project reference between them. So we say add project reference on the specs project and select our SpecFlow calculator project. And now we can access the code here. And when I'm building this now, you see Test Explorer finds now the first test. So one thing from the project template is that we already ship one feature file with it, the calculator feature, and we have our first feature file here. It's a simple calculator scenario, adding two numbers. Given the first number is 50, second number is 70, the two numbers are added, then the result should be 120. So, and let's see what's happened if we run this test. And you see, it's nothing happened here. Good. So what's happened is, as we're using the SpecFlow Plus runner, it is free, but to use it, you need a SpecFlow Plus account. And when you switch here in output to tests, you get here a message that you need to activate the machine. You have to do this on every machine. So you can copy the link and open it in the browser to activate it. So you need a SpecFlow Plus account for that, a SpecFlow account for that. And it's really easy to set up. You sign in with your Microsoft account. It can be a corporate or it can be a personal account. In this case, I'm using my corporate account. And done. It's done for me. If you're doing this for the first time, you get some steps more. I already have a SpecFlow account, so normally you get some, for the first time, a permission request that we can access your first, last name, and email address to take over. Then there's some additional screen for some small, short questions, terms and conditions, and then the big create button, create account button, and then you get to the switch. These steps have to be only done once per account, and it doesn't take normally longer than a minute to set up. So, and then after that, when we start to run this again, we see now it's marked as skipped, because when we go into the additional output, we see that nothing is implemented. Good. I saw some messages. Unable to build a solution after adding the SpecFlow Plus runner, and so for that I would need the error messages. I think we have, Mari, can you share the link to the feedback community post? Mm-hmm. So I would need, in that case, a more deeply look at the error message, and then I can say what's the problem. We are recording this. I would just say we're recording this session, and so please post Mari posted in the chat link to a post in the communities forum. Post there your problem. We will come back to you, and with the recording, you can then do the rest of the steps. And yeah, perhaps it's that you did not install some dependency. Perhaps .NET Core 3.1 is missing on your machine. That's probably the first one I would check. Good. Yeah, okay. Well, all from the same person. So let's continue to get this from skip to another state. So let's jump to the feature file. So how SpecFlow works is we have here our scenarios written in Gherkin, and we need now to bind what's happening in code when this line is executed. And for that, we need to bind this step. That's how it's named. And what we have now, one thing of the Visual Studio extension is we have now here this go to definition. And this jumps us directly to the code where this step is implemented. Also, from the project template, we have some implementation for this, for the steps already provided. And we are here in this calculator step definitions class. A step class is important thing is you have the binding attribute at the top, and then the methods are also public. And you have here then the .NET attributes given and when and so with here a string, and this is a regular expression, and we match this string against these regular expressions, and in that case we also have a parameter, its number. And so let's implement the first step. So what we need is now our application, our system under test. And in our case, it's really easy. We instantiate the calculator class. So it's private read only calculator equals new calculator. So we have an instance of the calculator, and I can remove all this boilerplate code and replace it with calculator. First number equals number. And that is the binding. So if this step is executed, this code is then called with the parameter. And when we run this now again, so let's have a quick look before here. You see here, it's some general output and the first step, and here's pending, that not implemented, and then the other are skipped because of previous errors. And when we run this now again, it's still skipped, but when we have a look at the output, you see now here the first step is done, but the second step is pending, and all other steps after that are skipped. So, and let's implement them. So that's easy. So the second number binding is setting the second property, the second number property. And then we have the when the two numbers are added. So in that case, we have this add method on the class. But one thing what we need to do is this returns the result. Doesn't store it in the class. So what we need to do is we need to save this result here. And we can do it similar to the calculator class. We make a private int result field, and we simply set this. So two numbers are added. So in the last step, that's the then step. That's where you do your assertions, when you check if this what you get is expected. So the first thing, let's rename this to expected result. That's what we think it should be. And what also with the project template comes is we are fans of a library called Fluent Assertions, where you can really nice write assert statements in your code. So we are using this. So you need make a using Fluent Assertions to get it in the namespace, and then you can write results should be expected results. And this should be, these extension methods are provided by the Fluent Assertions fluent assertions library. So let's see what's happening if we run now the tests. So, and it's red because, let's have a look at the results. The method originally implemented, and that's what we have. It, yeah, it's not implemented, so we get this exception. You see, you have here the nice call stack, here the binding, here our add. So let's fix this implementation. So return first number and second number. And let's run this again. And it's green. And when we have a look at here in the additional output, see all steps are done. Cool. First scenario automated with SpecFlow. It's really too easy to eat. So let's try to automate the second scenario. And this time it's about subtraction of numbers. Adding here is a new scenario, subtract two numbers. Given the first number is 120, second number is 70. When the two numbers are subtracted, then the result should be 50. Give you time to write this. Good. What you see, it's a little bit, so you see them different. So last time there is now this step where it's purple, a little bit purple, and this means that the step is not bound. It's one of the features of the Visual Studio integration. So these are all black and these are bound. And when I go to definition, I jump to the code. In that case, when I say go to definition, I get the message, okay, it's not there, and get some skeleton code. And this is a nice way to start getting your bindings. If you start from fresh to create your bindings, let's say yes. And one important thing is, didn't mention yet, is that the bindings are global. So there are no, you have this step, the first number can be used in every scenario, in every feature in this project. So you don't have to implement it per feature or per scenario. It's one time implemented, does everywhere the same. And this makes it an easy, if you have a lot of scenarios, to understand what's happening, because everywhere the step is doing the same thing. Good. So now add this implementation. Let's implement this missing step. So I have 12. I get this again in the clipboard. Let's switch back to the step definitions. And here in the when, we have it now. Here and now we can implement it and say result equals calculator dot subtract. And this is, yeah, this method doesn't exist yet on the calculator class. So let's create it. And here, so it's now here. And as always, let's first try to failure test. So let's keep the throw not implemented exception in here, run the tests. Okay, we see it's red. It's not implemented. Let's implement it. So it's first number minus second number. Let's run it. And those are green. Cool. So, and you see, if you have already a set of steps, it's really easy to get, when you have to write new scenarios, you reuse existing steps, and sometimes, yeah, you have to implement 1-2 steps to test your new functionality in your application. Good. So this is all in Visual Studio, and so how you use SpecFlow. But if you use SpecFlow and using BDD, one important thing, what's also there is called living documentation. And living documentation is, we have now here this scenarios in a human understandable form. The scenario should be written that every stakeholder can read and understand what is happening here and if the application is doing the right thing. And with the test results, you see, okay, if this scenario of my application is really doing this, what it should do. But this is all in Visual Studio, and not every shared stakeholder in your project is using Visual Studio and running the tests. And for that, we created a SpecFlow plus Living Doc. And let's see how we can create a Living Doc for this project. The first thing what we need is we need to install it, and that's Living Doc are 2 parts. So first we need a command prompt to install the command line tool for this. And this is it's a one-liner. I paste it here. So it's a .NET global tool, and you install it with a .NET tool install -- global SpecFlow plus Living Doc CLI. And if you press enter, yeah, okay, this is using the first time. This is from Microsoft. The important part is the green stuff here. It's now installed with the Living Doc command. Sorry for that. The second part you need for Living Doc is it's already set up in our project here. You need the SpecFlow plus Living Doc plugin in your project. And because this adds functionality that we need. Because when you have now a look into open an Explorer of the Specs project, if you're looking in the output folder, in that case it's been debug netcore apps 3.1, you find here a feature data JSON. And we need this we call the Living Doc CLI tool with this parameter. I quickly show you this. Let's open a new command prompt. Let's switch to this folder. And now when you enter Living Doc and feature data JSON and press enter, from this JSON a nice, very nice and good looking HTML report is generated. So you see here Living Doc HTML. Let's open this in the browser. And you have here your feature tree. So again, so let's expand this. You have here our calculator feature with the 2 scenarios. You see the test results. What's nice is, perhaps you notice is, in the feature file, we have here at the top some markdown. This gets now nicely displayed here. So we have images and links, and so everything here you can write with markdown. And you have also some small test result summary. You see how stuff is going. So you have a living documentation here. You can also filter here and for stuff. And and also a reporting functionality that you see how many scenarios and features are passing, failing, or other states. And this is, it's really easy to generate. We made sure that's really easy. You need the one NuGet package and this one command line tool, and you get this report. And we will have some very cool features in the future, what we are currently working on this, but not yet finished yet. Good. And that's it. So you saw, okay, 30 minutes setting up a complete new project, not the biggest one, but has the first test automation running with SpecFlow, your first bindings, you have a living doc. So starting with SpecFlow is really easy. I hope I wasn't too fast and you could follow it. Recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel as said. And good, then let's have a look at the questions. Are there any questions open, Mario?
Yes, we got also a question about a good example for web-based automation.
Web-based application. Okay, that's I need my slides. So web-based. So that's the promotion. So what we are doing now is every week on Thursday, 1 p.m. CET, I'm streaming for 2 hours live on Twitch and show how to use the different libraries to automate different applications. Currently, we're testing and working on an Android application, but in the past, we already worked to test an ASP.NET Core web application together with Selenium and SpecFlow. And you find this on our YouTube channel. All the streams are here. The recordings are here, and for the Selenium and ASP.NET Core, we have a playlist. Every time it plays auto. So it's a 5-part series where I start from scratch, creating a new web application and using Selenium and SpecFlow to automate this. So that's the in-deep example. We are always trying to get more and more documentation on the page, but this is not yet written down. So this is a good starting point at the moment for you. And this is with database mocking and everything.
We also got a question regarding that to explain step by step the Selenium integration and also how they use it to enable cross-browser testing using SpecFlow. Is this also something you're covering with your streams, Andy?
In that part works that I'm explaining everything what I'm doing there in rather detail with how page object model works and so. Testing multiple browsers is not yet covered there. So having the same features and scenarios tested against with different browsers is not yet covered. One of future streams topics. But what we have is we have a set on examples on GitHub, and there is one example how you can use Selenium Crypt together with the SpecFlow Plus runner to do this. So to test, have the same features and scenarios test against Chrome, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. Post this in the chat. Did I get the correct one? So this is a example. I think it's a it's a web-based calculator, and we are testing it in different browsers. Good. Then we have one question about the report without command line needed. Not at the moment. At the moment, it's needed, but this it's one command line call you can add simply in your CI/CD pipeline to get executed for every build, and then you get the HTML. And that the nice thing, you have this one single HTML file, and you could put this up everywhere. Put it on a web server, copy it on Dropbox, OneDrive, send it per Teams message. What your CI/CD system is capable of, and how you use it in your team. You can use it to share this HTML file. But at the moment, the CLI call is necessary.
I will quickly post a link into the chat. Also different ways on sharing the HTML. And also in the future, we will try to cover that also in more detail. So that's also getting easier for you to share the feature files with your team and also different stakeholders so that you get feedback on your specifications and also your test results. And I just posted now the link to the documentation to the chat.
Thank you, Maria. There was also one question you already answered privately, but I want to also inform the other audience about screenshots in the report and other output. That's not yet possible in Living Doc. In case, what you see in case of an error, let's quickly produce an error. You should see the error message in where it fails in the Living Doc. Let's generate this again. And yeah, this is now failing, and you have here then the error message, and then the error message that you have also here in Visual Studio. But in screenshots also what's happened during the run. This is not possible at the moment. For that, feature requests like that, we have on our support community side, support SpecFlow.org. We have here on the community feature requests forum, where you can the whole community is putting up feature requests for various products, and you can also vote this up and down, and our product owners are using this to decide the next steps and the next prioritization in our backlog. So if you want something like this, and if you think something is missing in our products, please create a feature request here, and then also others can vote for it, and we see how high the demand for the different features is. This really helps us to make decisions in our prioritization when we implement one feature.
Cool. Are there any other questions we can help you with?
Yeah. One for the screenshot notes, but so the only output that's possible is the one at error level. That's the only output that's missing. That's currently possible. So the CLI for someone asked for the CLI calls. Put this back up here. So to install it, it's .NET tool install -- global specflow.plus.livingdoc.cli. And if this is the first global tool you install, you need to start a new command prompt that this Living Doc application Living Doc command is available. That's how That's how .NET Global Tools works. Good, that was this. To rerun the failed test scripts automatically. Yes, this is possible. This is one of the features of the SpecFlow Plus Runner. Perhaps you noticed here is 3 failed because this failed in at default. It retries to execute it 3 times, and you can configure this, how many it should, how often it should retry this. So this is a feature of the SpecFlow Plus Runner, and you see it also here in Living Doc. There is some small 3 within hint as this was executed 3 times and failed 3 times. Yeah, also console write line does not show up. We don't display any output of the users in this report at the moment. So if you would like to see this, please create a feature request or look if, I don't think we had this feature request yet, Mario.
No.
So in that case, please add a feature request here, and
it's also possible for the others to upvote it and also comment it, and then
yeah,
we can also take this in our consideration for the upcoming product releases. And there was also a second question regarding that, until when the community can expect screenshot feature. So also here we would suggest, please open a feature request, and we will then try to consider it in our upcoming features.
Yeah, we are a small team and can't sadly do everything what would be cool. So we have to pick our feature areas what we are working on, and so it's very important for us that we know how high the demand for such features is, and for that we created this feature request list with the voting that you can go see. Okay, a lot of people want this feature. We probably we should do this in the near future. So yeah, and I posted the link already in the. Cool. Anything else? Any other questions open?
I think
that was one in the chat at the beginning. Sean, I think I answered you on other things. How to make check a yes in a checkbox? I think you wrote in the form or somewhere. Please post it. So also for this, how to use SpecFlow is we not only have the feature request, we have here also the general discussion area where our community is exchanging how to do stuff in SpecFlow, how to use it. And for this question, that's the ideal spot to ask this question. And I need more information. So is this a checkbox, a web checkbox, a WPF checkbox? What are you using for automation? So generally, in SpecFlow, you can use every .NET library you want to automate your tests. You're not limited to Selenium only. You see, this is calling directly C# code. So you can use Selenium, you can use Appium, you can use REST Shop to test your APIs. Everything what is callable in .NET, you can use together with SpecFlow. And this always depends on your project, what you have, and what tools you need to automate it.
So, Andy, we got one more question regarding the Visual Studio extension for Mac.
Okay. The Visual Studio for Mac extension is not maintained by our team, but by the community. So, sign the documentation for the So no, there is no documentation how to get it to work. It was always part of the community, and yeah, it's one of the areas where we would like to do stuff, but are simple limited with the team size and our possibilities to work there. Yeah, sorry for the not so good question. Perhaps yeah, some members of the community can stand up and bring the existing extension for Visual Studio for Mac to work again and work together with the old contributors. It's also, this Visual Studio for Mac extension is open source as SpecFlow, and we all it's an open source project, and for that we depend on our community, that we're working together to make SpecFlow and SpecFlow and the extensions and so everywhere better. This is a joint effort. It's that's how open source works.
All right. So
Good.
we emptied again the questions queue. So any other questions where we could help you? I mean, if not, there's always a chance to reach out to us in the community forum and also on GitHub.
Yeah, for us, so yeah, what we already posted, perhaps you can post it again, Mario. Please give us feedback to this onboarding session in the community forum. That would help us a lot. And yeah, you can find us on our website. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn. That's me on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can contact us there. We are looking in the forum. We are monitoring Twitter and everything. And yeah, if you have feedback, you have a problem, please use these channels that we can communicate, fix this and work together to solve your problems. So,
Andy, we got one more question.
Yeah, I saw it in the chat. How to run SpecFlow without using Visual Studio? So SpecFlow integrates into the whole testing infrastructure of .NET. It's called VS Test. And that's the same infrastructure what is used for NUnit, XUnit, MS Test. So there is no difference in executing an NUnit test in a CI pipeline than a SpecFlow test. The two base on the command line, it's the .NET test. .NET test. To run the test, yeah, I have to be here about to run the tests, or the other one would be, yeah, it's fading. The other one is the VS Test console X command line tool of VS Test to run the tests.
We also got a question if we are muted. No, we are not muted. So please check your audio settings.
No, I hope I didn't. No. Should work. Good. Yeah, I think we're now at the end. So
I think, yeah, last chance to ask a question. And
for now, we are still available on the other channels. Good. Then thanks you all for joining today. Looking forward for your feedback. And yeah, tomorrow, 1 p.m. CET, Central European Time, I will continue on the Twitch stream with testing an Android application with Appium. So if you have time and interested, please join. And yeah, have a nice rest of the day. For us, it's already late. Yeah, have a nice day and see you perhaps in the next webinar. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.